103. But Chase Elliott and his Hendrick Motorsports Camaro going to lead the last one.
Yeah, boys. Caution's out. Check it.
Is 12th. It's the 14th career win for second-generation star and series champ Chase Elliott. He
sure did. That puts all four of them in victory lane this year.
And in the playoffs.
Yeah, without a doubt, the organization, everybody's chasing.
Finally gets it done. First win since July 4th weekend last year. First oval win since his championship win with this car in 2020. November of 2020. Finally gets it done. Very excited for that. Finally.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Welcome to Shifting Gears.
We have 5 different topics, 5 different gears we're going to go through. Let's go ahead and get into the first one.
Alright, so this week's going to be a little bit different. Since the race got rain delayed till Monday, me and Caleb both work actually at the exact same place, but he works the day shift and I work the afternoons. So we're not going to be able to be together this whole week to do a video. So he's going to record his own videos. He's going to do the second gear and the fourth gear, and I'm going to do my first gear and third gear, and we'll go from there. So Caleb, are you ready? How you feeling?
I'm ready, and I'm feeling good, Austin.
All right, shifting right into first gear here. Should NASCAR start earlier? In my opinion, every single race should start at noon. That's just my opinion. Maybe benefit of the doubt, maybe 1 o'clock at the latest should be starting. However, I do understand that they want to get the West Coast viewers, and that's why they start later. They want to get the West Coast viewers. The ratings have been up this year. They've proven that if they start later, they can have higher ratings. So, that being said, I'll go ahead and I'll meet them halfway. I say every racetrack that does not have lights, like Dover, should start at noon. Everywhere else, if it has lights, then by all means, go ahead and start late. That's fine, whatever. But the tracks that do not have lights, they need to start at noon. Even if this race would have went completely 100% full, no rain delays at all, it only maybe had an hour and a half of leeway time. If there is a bad wreck, if there's any kind of light rain or anything, it's already pushing it right up to dark. And that's if the race goes almost perfectly and just has that one little hiccup. There's no way they could have restarted this race as soon as it started raining because they started way too late. They can't race at night at Dover. That kind of stuff is very frustrating. They have to think of the fans that are there. I know they think about the West Coast viewers, and that's great. That's all fine and dandy, but they have to start thinking about the fans that are there. You know, if you were to buy hundreds of dollars of tickets, go there, spend all weekend there, and then if it went ahead and went green and it had to get cut short because of darkness, or now it got rain delayed and they had to start on a Monday and you have to be back at work, you can't stay. There's a lot of people in the stands that weren't able to stay. You have to think of those fans, you know, and it doesn't look good for NASCAR. For the ones that doesn't have lights, they need to start at noon. That's just my opinion. But man, you know, you look anywhere. I think even fans that are there want them to start at noon. So even fans on the West Coast, I'm seeing, want them to start at noon. They don't mind getting up a little bit earlier and watching the race a little bit earlier. So it needs to start at noon. And that's just my opinion.
Shifting to gear number 2, Chase Elliott wins at Dover. Finally. So many people have absolutely badmouthed him and his crew chief all season long. I don't even know why. He's been the most consistent driver, has had the points lead for most of the season. So I'm not really understanding that. Kind of aggravated me. I know I'm a little biased because I'm a Chase Elliott fan. But still, I'm so happy he finally gets the win. Finally, all those haters can be done and making up excuses to why he's not winning. He's got one. He's in the playoffs. That's exciting. I'm happy for him. I'm very, very happy that he's finally got a win, and I thought he had a pretty good race overall. I was up there for most of the time. It was probably the longest, like 30-something laps or whatever at the end there of my life ever watching. I mean, I was just wanting it to end and so he can get that win. But very happy he won. I'm ready for next week. I think he could have a shot there too as well. So.
Excellent take, Caleb. Okay, shifting right into third gear here, we're seeing a lot of tire issues. But what I'm hearing a lot of is a lot of people saying that NASCAR needs to do something about it. And yes, while I may agree there may be a safety thing that NASCAR could maybe look at and do and try to fix, the main issue here is not NASCAR's fault. It's the pit crew execution. All right, I would like to see the data. I'd like to see every single tire that has come off. I'd like them to come out to tell and say if it's a mechanical failure or if it was a pit crew failure. Because from what I understand, and I could be wrong, I don't have that data. I wish I do. But from what I understand, it's always been a lug nut not getting tight enough. That's what it's been, is a lug nut not getting tight enough. And so you cannot blame that on NASCAR. NASCAR has put the safety features there. If you don't have a lug nut on the car or the lug nut is loose, then of course the tire is going to fall off. That's not NASCAR's fault. That's the pit crew's fault. It's execution. A lot of people are saying, well, they need to go back to 5 lug nuts. And while I can agree that having 5 lug nuts, if you have one lug nut that's missed or loose, maybe even 2 that's loose, and the tire would still stay on, and yeah, that'd be great. But NASCAR has tested 5 lug nuts on this new tire, and it is more dangerous than what we have now. They kept breaking. You could have them on all tight, and it would snap off. The wheel would snap off. And so the 5 lug nuts is not the issue. They're not going to go back to 5 lug nuts. People need to realize that. What they do need to realize, or what they do need to understand, is that they need to start focusing on the pit crew's fault and not NASCAR's fault. It's not NASCAR's fault. Now, if there's some type of mechanical failure that keeps happening, then yes, that's NASCAR's fault and they need to do something about it. But from what I understand, that's not the case. It has always been the pit crew execution's fault. So they need to figure out some way to get the pit crews to make sure they are tightening the thing. If you look at Denny Hamlin's pit stop, of course, we had 2 tires come off in the race. Denny Hamlin's tire came off, and then we had A.J. Allmendinger's tire come off during full speed on the racetrack, and which actually caused Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch's downfall. But we see that Denny Hamlin's pit stop, they did a perfect normal pit stop going through the motions, and of course they had it slowed down. If you watch it, not one person's checking on the front tire changer. Only the front tire changer is trying to get somebody's attention right as he's starting to peel off, saying, hey, there was no lug nut in the gun. They didn't get it on. But nobody's paying attention to that. They need to rewire themselves. It's a first year. There's going to be some problems, but they need to retrain themselves to look for stuff like that. Make sure the lug nut's getting on. Make sure the lug nut is there. I mean, they have to get this thing full of gas, and a lot of times the gas takes longer to fill up the car than it does to change the tires. So maybe even just a half a second of longer of just making sure it's tight. It could save you 4 races of the crew chief and the tire changer and the jackman being suspended. And so they need to look at that. They need to look at that. Another take that I have on the tire issue is if the tire comes off and it's under caution, I don't think that the 4-race suspension should be there, because again, what we just talked about, if you look back at Denny Hamlin's pit stop, it's not like they purposely left it loose. It's not like they tried. They acknowledged that, hey, it's not on there, and that they wasn't running full speed. Nobody's going to hit that tire when it's only going maybe 50 miles an hour, and it's going to go into and launch in the stands. That's not the case. The reason they have that suspension there is because full speed, A.J. Allmendinger's tire, if somebody were to hit that could very well go in the stands and get somebody hurt, and that's why they have that rule there. But when it's under caution, I don't necessarily think that it should be a 4-race suspension. I think it should be some type of penalty, like an uncontrolled tire, or equipment leaving the box penalty. Send them in the back of the field like they did, something like that. I think that should be the penalty, and that's it, because the safety aspect is it's not going to go in the stands under caution. Now, if that were to happen under green flag pit stops, completely different story, because now you still have cars going full speed around the track that could hit it. But nobody's going full speed around the track under caution. At least they shouldn't be. And so that should not be a penalty that significant, in my opinion. That's where the line should be. Shouldn't be a judgment call, but that's where the line should be, under caution or under green. And that's where the penalty should come. But that's just my opinion.
All right, shifting into gear number 4. Martin Truex Jr. and Ross Chastain. I don't blame Martin Truex Jr. for being as upset as he was. I'd be pretty upset too. I mean, he still got a decent finish because they threw the caution. I don't know why they threw the caution, but I think finished 12th, which isn't bad for wrecking in the last lap. So I can understand why he's upset. Ross Chastain, I don't really think I would put him like at fault. I mean, it's as y'all know, I like Revens racing type of thing, but it's a last lap. I mean, you're racing for third position. Like, why would you give it to him? Why would you make it easy and let him just get third from me? You know what I mean? I would have blocked him too. I mean, I don't think he did it on purpose. I don't think it was purposely trying to wreck him out. They were around each other all race, which made it even more interesting because they always seemed like they're right next to each other, and Mark Truex Jr. had to pass him like every single run that was in that race there. But I don't think it was on purpose, but I don't know. I don't think there's much really going to come out of it. I can't really see Martin Truex Jr. retaliating too much. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, I don't think Ross Chastain did it on purpose. It was the last lap racing for third. Yes, it wasn't the win, but I would have done it too. I mean, I would have blocked him. And I want third. I want the position I'm racing for at that time. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's going to become something too big, but it's still fun to see. You know, a little action at the end there, talking, and you can tell they're upset, which is understandable. But I mean, hey, I like Ross Chastain's attitude. I mean, he's just, I'm going to race you, and that's how it is. I mean, he doesn't really care, which I'm okay with. I don't mind that attitude at all, as long as he's not too aggressive, you know. But either way, I don't think it's going to become something too big of a rivalry or nothing like that. But it's still fun to see, and I don't blame him for doing it. I don't blame him for the block. I don't blame Martin Truex Jr. for being too upset there. So.
All right, and that leads us right into 5th and final gear, and that is the race overall. Overall, I really thought this race was great. You know, they had excellent, some strategy. It had some drama when it comes to when the caution fell for Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman. It had some comers and goers. It had the most green flag passes for the lead since 2013. So this race overall was a really good race for Dover. It kind of reminded me back of, you know, early COT era, back to maybe the Gen 4 cars, and that's good. That's exactly what you want for in this car and for a Dover race, is you want to see it back there, because that's when NASCAR was good. That's when this track was good. Over the last few years, I'd say over almost 10 years now worth of races have not been good here at Dover. It just hasn't. And matter of fact, Dover has been one of the races that I just don't really look forward to in the season. But I was really optimistic about this race. I really wanted to see how this car would race at this track, and it was really good. You know, it had a lot of cautions for the fans that like a lot of cautions, so it had a lot of restarts. Of course, we had Chase Elliott winning, which Chase Elliott winning doesn't make the race good or bad, you know. But the race overall was, I think, a really good race. Now, was it perfect? No. I think, you know, there's still a lot more exciting tracks out there. I think the racing could still be better, maybe even here. So if I had to get a percentage on this race, I'd say I would say probably a 75 or 80%. I would give this on a scale. And I really enjoyed the race. I thought it was one of the best Dover races I've seen in a long time. But it still has room for improvement. Dover's still not my favorite racetrack, but this car seems, as long as it goes good, we'll see as the years go on. But I think this car might be a good car for this kind of track.
Race overall. I'm going to go ahead and give it a percentage. I would say I wasn't able to watch a lot of it because I was working. But from the highlights and from what I've seen at the end of the race and everything, I'd give it a 80%, I would say. Pretty good race, a lot of wrecks. I think there's, 12 cautions or something like I enjoyed the race. I liked it. From the parts that I saw, I liked it. Hated that I got rain delayed, so I really couldn't watch a lot of it. That kind of goes back to moving maybe the start times up, or having lights at certain tracks or whatever. I mean, you can have it later, all that. But either way, I thought it was a pretty good race. Obviously, I like that Chase Elliott won, but it was exciting. Typical Dover, I feel like. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of cautions, a lot of hard hits at Dover, and Dover didn't disappoint. The car didn't disappoint there, and I think it's overall a pretty good race.
So that should be it. Let us know what your thoughts about the race was. Did you like it? Did you not? If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, comment on there. Tell us what you thought. And we'll be back next week. Next week they're going at Darlington. Darlington Throwback Weekend. Can't wait. That's one of my favorite races of the year, is the Throwback race. We'll be back with Shifting Gears next week. Thank you for watching.